times.
I'm with it, baby.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Uncivil Law with my friend Nate the Lawyer. Nate the Lawyer is drinking some vodka. I've got bourbon, which is the superior alcohol choice. It's vodka, but with flavor.
Hey, listen, I'm a lefty, so I'm a Russian. Russian vodka. That's the dagger, baby.
If you're gonna go full lefty, you can't do vodka. You got to go Zima. So we are here with Legal, who if he hadn't already before, has gone full Trump derangement syndrome and abandoned any pretense of teaching people about law in order to teach people about how he hates Orange Man very much.
Yeah, he doesn't like Trump.
No, we got that insinuation from it all. It's like if we're going to talk about pardons, maybe we could at some point, preferably at the front of the video, actually quote the Constitution. That might be good. But because we're redoing this with Nate here to make sure that we don't commit any offenses or anything or teach people the wrong law, the former prosecutor will keep us out of trouble. We are going to listen to some legal, and we are just going to respond. So, anytime you want to interject, Nate, just tell me to pause the video and we'll go from there. So let's
hold on.
Go ahead.
I have to give a disclaimer, though. I am drinking vodka. I've had this my second glass of alcohol. So this is not legal advice. Even if I wasn't drinking, it wouldn't be legal advice. So don't take it that way, anybody.
Yeah, this is not legal advice. We are not actually, for the record, we are not actually encouraging anyone to break any laws because that would be bad.
Terms of service.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. We don't necessarily want calls from the police or Secret Service as we enter various hypotheticals of what we might or might not be able to hypothetically say in some theoretical universe. And Secret Service comes, knocks on my door, I'm going to tell them to go away and give you a call, Nate.
I appreciate that.
No problem. All right, so let's start with some Trump derangement syndrome time and make sure my volume is up.
Yo, hold on. You know what? Damn. Before you started, and he looked deranged, like when he he looked like he was about to go crazy.
Right at the start, yeah.
Yeah, he just
I like the way that he edited it, like way at the start, making sure that it's like
this is it, yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm about to spill some shit right now. But you know what though? I will say this though, his green screen is on point.
If that is a green background, it looks even better than mine. So if it's green screen, he's doing something right.
Well, you see the lights behind each one of the books. That's what makes me think that it's green screen. But it may not be. It may not be.
It may not be. I mean, if you don't really care what law books you're buying, law books are cheap because a lot of people get rid of law books all the time for being out of date. So if you don't really particularly care, if you're just looking for the aesthetic, I mean, you can get out of date law books for nothing.
That's true. Those look pretty old too. It's like really, but if I go into a professional's office and I see a whole bunch of law books, my first question is, when's the last time you opened up one of these bad boys? Because everything's online now, right? It's like, when's the last time you opened up that book? That book's from the 80s, right? Come on, that's not. Nobody's buying new books and throwing them up there.
Not a lot of people, man. It's for staging, So
I actually don't know where to start.
Again, you could start with the Constitution. Maybe a good place to start, just for a random idea, would be, the pardon power, which says that the president shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States. Maybe that would be a good place to start, just as an FYI.
You are off, man. You know what? He is looking for it. He's looking for an Oscar nomination with this. He's got the finger.
Well, he's definitely got the dramatic pausing down.
And the Oscar goes still.
Yeah, no, and the Oscar goes to, I mean, Cuomo got an Emmy, so, it would not surprise me if he manages to get an Emmy for legal education. If he's going to get an Emmy before me or you. Yeah, he's actually going to get an Emmy. I've actually decided, not even joking at this point, he's actually going to get an Emmy. I'm sad.
Let's see his performance. This is going to be good. He's got the finger over the mouth and everything.
I'm so furious and I'm so sad for our country. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They claim to be
that 5-second pause, man. You got to have that dramatic. He's got that pregnant pause down. He's got the timing on that pretty good.
Got to be 5 seconds or less though. He's stretching it though, because at first I thought the shit was on. I thought you paused it. You know,
no. You
you
gotta have just a long pregnant pause. I think he got it about right. His pacing and timing is pretty good. Whoever he's taking.
Now you got to scroll back on the pause, man, because I missed the pause. I thought you paused the goddamn thing. I didn't even know.
Oh no. I was counting seconds so that we can make sure that we actually gave him the full merit of it. So you can count in your head. Ready for this?
Play this. Yeah, let me see the pause.
I'm sad for our country. That
you didn't mute it. I thought you muted it. I didn't mute it.
I didn't mute it.
You paused
That's in the original. What do you want from me? That's what it said.
I thought you paused it.
I didn't pause it or mute it. You want to see it again?
Oh, I thought you paused it. I was like, oh, he paused it. I was like, what are you scrubbing through it? Oh my God. He got me. I was fooled. I thought you paused it.
I didn't pause it, man. That's in the original. He's got that stoic, wistful, looking into the distance thing, that kind of 1,000-yard stare of
my God.
Remember when we had a country? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Play this. Oh my God. I really thought you paused it. I was fooled.
Order. The hypocrisy makes it feel like ash in my mouth to even say it. Because there's no depth, no illegality to which the president will not stoop.
He did his eye. He does a lot of he closes his eyes real hard.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
The president has.
Oh my God, that was another. Yo, you know what? Play it again. That's a real crazy pause. Like, why is he doing these dramatic pauses like this?
No. I'm telling you, he's working on his Emmy, Nate. He's working on his Emmy. He's got to have that. He's got to have that long, distant sigh. You know, of the elder who is seeing the end come as the sun is setting, looking into the distance. He's got the long, resigned sigh of a person who realized the end has come.
This is going to take us like 4 hours to get through this.
No, it's going to take us a couple hours.
The last pause.
No, no, it's definitely not the last pause in any sense. But I'm gonna state for the record, I am not going to pause it until he starts talking again after the pause. So I have not muted it. It is not paused. This is real, Nate. So let's go from there.
All right.
It's astounding.
He's got some hard blinks going on there too.
The president has completed what appears to be the first raft of pardons in the lame duck period. It's a murderer's row of the unpardonable. Though an actual row of murderers are probably less morally blameworthy than the people that actually receive the pardons.
Now, I want to take note of this. He said actual murderers would be less blameworthy than the people who receive the pardons. Take note of that, because this is his next sentence.
Actual war criminals who were responsible for killing innocent Iraqi citizens, including women and children.
So he says, I mean, the juxtapositional irony of these two sentences is so real, Nate. He says actual murderers would be less morally culpable than the people he pardoned. His very next sentence is these people who were convicted of murder. I mean, there's no self-awareness. Actual murderers would be more pardonable than actual murderers. I mean, that's what they were convicted of. But it's like there's no awareness at all of this.
But yeah, I'm not even sure what comparison he's making. Like he says actual murders, but then he presents that there's, hey, there's some people.
Yeah, these
actual
people
murderers.
The war crimes killing. In other words, murder.
That's dramatic effect. Now, I think he could have coached it in a way of, generally if somebody commits murder, but war crimes is a different type of murder. It's more, we all know war is murder, but like what the Germans did, that's just not regular type of murder. So I'm thinking he was trying to make that distinction, but I don't think he just did it well.
Yeah, and the underlying event is open to interpretation on a lot of levels. There's a lot of reason to suspect that the trial wasn't particularly fair. Again, for these contractors, that what happened, is a lot more ambiguous than like when he says like the murder of women and children. I mean, he's going like full like Da Nang Vietnam bullshit with this is the most reprehensible. He's insinuating that they're lining them up against the wall, shooting them in the back of the head kind of stuff. That's not really what was going on.
Hold on, but weren't these the contractors that they did kill like some women and children.
Yeah, but
to be fair, women and children did die.
Yes,
right?
but it's a bit more ambiguous than that. I mean, it's not quite in the same category, in terms, because they violated rules of engagement. It's not quite in the same category as lining them up and shooting them, against the law.
Well, I'm assuming they didn't just line them, but I'm assuming maybe I have a little bit more faith in the justice system of the government. The government they convicted them of killing some women and children. So I don't want to parse it too much. My
point here is that every murder is not necessarily equal, even in the legal system, because not every killing is necessarily murder either. But different kinds of murders are different levels of horror. So we can at least try to mentally distinguish between various things and be like, maybe this is not quite in the same category as this other thing.
Yeah. So, no, I'm assuming that this was a bad analogy, but if they were killing women and children, they were convicted of killing women and children. My first thought isn't to say, the system.
That's a thing.
I want to see the evidence,
but it might have been a bit more ambiguous, because it seems like they violated rules of engagement. So therefore, they weren't protected by the rules of engagement, but it's not maybe quite this. So they didn't have the legal protection, but the whole thing is a bit more factually ambiguous.
So what? But hold on, factually ambiguous means why were they convicted then? Were they convicted of murdering women and children? Yes. All right. So I'm not sure how we get ambiguous from that.
Fair enough. Let's move on.
All right.
Ridiculously corrupt politicians like Chris Collins and Duncan Hunter, who were convicted of and were about to serve extensive prison sentences related to insider trading and also embezzling campaign funds, including but not limited to spending those campaign funds on extramarital affairs.
But now, hold on.
Traitors to
this I did like the implied slut shaming there, because it's he wants to bring up the moral condemnation of them being engaging in extramarital affairs, because that's bad.
You see, the biggest issue what he's saying now is that every president, right, pardons their friends, little family.
Yeah. We're gonna get to that.
Bill Clinton pardoned his father, and his brother, for instance. It's that's just I don't know. I think he's making a whole bunch to do about nothing. That's what I'm saying. I think he's gone full Trump derangement syndrome. He's jumped out. Right?
Yeah, no, he's about to say this is completely unprecedented in American history. We haven't quite gotten to that point where I'm about to make that same exact point. This is not unprecedented, but it's like, this is the horror show. These people are being pardoned. It's unacceptable.
And all these were for paper crimes too. These weren't, except for the Blackwater people.
Except for the Blackwater people, that's true.
But the rest of these are just paper crimes. That's what most presidents pardon people on these paper crimes, are those non-violent drug offenses.
Yeah.
Country like Paul Manafort, who was a direct conduit to the Russians through Konstantin Kilimnik and Oleg Deripaska, and of course the president's cronies, including but not limited to Paul Manafort, but also Roger Stone and George Papadopoulos.
And as I said earlier, I mean, whatever else you can say about George Papadopoulos, presumably in this photograph, he's coming out of a car about to walk into a courthouse. I mean, that would be presumably what's happening in this photograph. And the guy looks like a GQ model, man. He looks sharp, man. I mean, his hair tie. He's even got the slight gap there. He's got that stylistic thing. He looks sharp, man. So whatever George Papadopoulos is doing for style, he's got it down.
Listen, you one thing now. I think so people could understand, because I don't want people to think that we're just saying, Trump's pardons are nothing and this. Yes, I understand there's going to be some outrage, but understand this. To say Trump's pardons are like the worst in history is not only being deceitful. I think it's being deceptive because, for instance, President Andrew Johnson, he pardoned every Confederate soldier who took up arms against killed, this was mass murder, killing black people. Yeah. And he says, you know what? I'm pardoning all of you guys. So unless Trump does
presumably some more crimes in there too.
Yeah. So I'm assuming if Trump pardoned if Trump pardons the full Confederacy, right? That is something that's like, okay, maybe we shouldn't just give everybody a blank check, right? Like, these people come back to Congress. That's what I'm talking about, and that's why when he says these are the most corrupt and all, he's just talking out his ass at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, this is really nothing new, even though apparently it is extremely new, and we've never seen anything like it before or something. I don't know.
Except, pardoning millions of people who took up arms and fought against the country. Yeah, that's.
I wonder if Paul Manafort, or I wonder if Papadopoulos here gets his suits at Indochino, because it looks good, man. I just
he does look good. His girlfriend's pretty cute too.
There's just no end to the depravity. This is unprecedented in its baseness, in its venality. We've just never seen anything like this in the US.
This is my what face. We've never seen anything like this ever before. We've never seen pardons given out to political cronies or people to whom we want to give political favors or people who have loyalty to the current administration. This is completely unknown in American history, except for every single president in the history of time.
Yeah. They always give out these crazy pardons. It's, I don't know. It is what it is. Let's
completely unprecedented.
Oh my God. It's interesting. One person who I didn't realize got a presidential pardon, George Steinbrenner, owner of the Yankees.
Oh, yes.
He got I totally forgot. I think he had like 14, 15 counts or something. Funny things or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah, we could go through the annals of history and talking about people who got pardons from Democratic administrations, but why waste the time? The pardons are real. Yeah,
Patty Hearst from Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's brother, Mark Rich. I can stay with Mark Bill Clinton all night. One. Yeah. So it's both sides do this all the time. Go ahead.
Effectively, every significant defendant who refused to cooperate with both the Mueller investigation and also just main justice have now been pardoned. The only exceptions being Rick Gates and Michael Cohen, both of whom actually testified and cooperated against the president.
Well, do you remember Iran-Contra? You remember Iran-Contra?
Oh, yeah, Iran-Contra. I totally forgot about Iran-Contra.
They pardon, right? He kept his mouth shut. And what did he get?
Right. Pardon. That's right. Yeah, and as I was pointing out, the Mueller investigation, and this is not to criticize Mueller himself, because I don't know necessarily he knew what he was being handed when he was handed it. But I think Mueller himself did a good job. But the way it came to be was so corrupt from the get-go. It was based off the Steele dossier, which was illegally obtained, and based off illegally obtained information, including by lying to the FISA court to get FISA warrants illegally. So the whole Mueller investigation was tainted from square one. And then as a result of this 2-year-long witch hunt, he produced the Mueller report, which showed that there was no collusion with Russia. So the idea of pardoning people who were swept up in this completely improper political witch hunt started for completely political reasons, based off a dubious dossier, which was itself based off illegal warrants. I mean, yeah, maybe we should pardon those people because the whole thing was corrupt from start to stem. You know?
I see. And maybe I'll show my hand here. I think it really depends on the way you look at it, because I think as a law enforcement professional, right? Sometimes you'll get something like that's just bad, right? Somebody will bring up some evidence, and you're like, it's BS. But then it kind of turns into something the more you dig into it, And generally, you're right. FISA abuses. There's some other, this Steele dossier was bullshit. But then you look at it and you say, well, is there anything in here that I can use? And if something does, you check it out and see if it's all BS. And I think that's, if somebody gives you something like that, I don't see the harm in looking into those allegations. Like, these are some salacious shit. Is there any way we can just verify to see if any of this is true? And then they throw it out. I do agree, though. To say that that was all just nonsense, I think when you have, for instance, Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and the head of the campaign meeting with a Russian agent in Trump Tower, and the email says to get dirt on Hillary Clinton, that's not nothing. You know what I'm saying? I think, is it enough to an impeachment? No, but I think now you're talking about, there are some tidbits there that I would understand them paying some money to look into. But at the end of the day, you're right. There was no collusion, and Trump got off, which is true. But to say that there was nothing that pointed to it, I just think it's undercutting the fact that Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and Paul Manafort were in a room with a Russian agent who told them that she was going to give them damaging information on Hillary Clinton. That's a fact. That happened. That's worth looking into.
I mean, yeah, there might be some reason to look into some of that stuff, but I'm not sure how abnormal that is. I'm not sure, how abnormal it is for a campaign to be approached with opposition research by interested parties, whether they're foreign or not, or known to be foreign or not. I don't know how strange or abnormal that is.
Just to be, it's illegal for you to get opposition research from a foreign government. That's illegal.
Yeah. From
So,
a foreign government.
Yeah. So they were getting it from a foreign government. Vladimir Putin has information on him. But again, I'm not saying it was right, because at the end of the day, it was found not to be credible. So it's fine. But to say that I would, if you heard that about Joe Biden, let's take politics out of it. If you heard Joe Biden's son, Hunter, was in a room with Russian agents,
the
head of the campaign, and his number two, and Joe Biden's number two man, were all in the room with a Russian agent trying to get dirt on Trump. You telling me that's not worth looking into?
Well, the example is fair, although it would be at least partially tainted because of Hunter Biden and his other malfeasances. But you make a fair point that I probably would be very questioning of what exactly is going on there.
You'd be like, what the hell happened to that man?
You raise a fair point. You raise a fair point. Maybe I'm not being fair to both sides. So that's a fair criticism that I'm willing to accept. Yeah, but of course, Hunter. If it were one of his other sons, maybe, but Hunter in particular, yeah, he's got problems. I believe it because he might be wanting to. What's the equivalent of wet your whistle when you're talking about crack and cocaine? I don't know.
Well, he did get a stripper pregnant, right? So he's got that going for him.
This is tin pot dictator banana republic level corruption. If this seems like comic book villainy, that's because it is. This is not a close case. This is not an issue of red versus blue. I
feel like it's a little bit of an issue of red versus blue, Nate. I have, in the same way that I might have approached this with a little bit of bias on my end, because maybe I'm not holding the same standard to Kushner or Ivanka as I would to, say, Hunter in a reverse hypothetical, which is a fair criticism where I'm willing to at least accept the premise that potentially I'm not holding a fair standard. I feel like maybe our friend Legal Eagle over here is also not necessarily being equal in his judgment of how he would assess the situation.
No, I would say you take Trump, I'll take the full Confederacy. You can take Trump, I'll take the Confederacy.
A couple 100,000 people, right?
Yeah, the people who took up arms, killed American citizens, made fake governments, almost destroyed the United States government. Those people who went back to Congress and said, we're pardoned by the president. We want our seats back. And Congress said, no, you can't have your seats back because you're traitors. We don't give a damn what the pardon says.
Jefferson
Davis.
I'm talking about. Jefferson Davis himself, man.
That's what I'm talking about. When they say, when he says these are the worst pardons ever, understand the Confederates were pardoned. Right, those murderous rage Confederates. So he's talking out his ass. This is not based in history.
Talking a little bit out of his ass, yeah. Worst pardons ever.
This is just pure, flat-out corruption. And I guess let's start with the bad news, because on some levels, this is worse than it appears. It's not just that the morally reprehensible and actual criminals have been pardoned.
Isn't that true of most pardons, Nate? You normally are pardoning people who are morally reprehensible and or actual criminals. That is typically who's receiving pardons.
Yeah, but
normally the actual criminals.
Well, you don't pardon people who have no criminal records, right? It's like the president's going to be like, Nate, you're pardoned from being a good guy. That doesn't happen. You have to have committed some crime or be, I don't know.
Yeah, there's political reasons to pardon people to stop witch hunts. If you are trying to pardon someone like Flynn, because we both believe really at the end of the day he should have been set free by the justice system, but there's a reason to pardon him for expediency, because he's being raked over the coals and it doesn't have to. So I suppose there's that, but most people who are pardoned are being pardoned because they're criminals. That's kind of the point, is to absolve people who, though crimes, because the Constitution, which is always a good place to start, says that the president has the power to pardon for crimes and offenses against the United States. So that would entail actual criminals.
Yeah, but continue play, because there's a point here where he's just totally off. Go ahead.
We're only 2 minutes into a 19-minute video. It's going.
I know
well,
you got
25 minutes. 25 minutes into the recording, and we're 2 minutes into a 19-minute video. It's going real well, Nate.
Well, all right. So let's do this. let's not stop until the 5-minute marks. It's 2.5 minutes.
I don't think I can do it though.
No, we got to do it, bro. We got to do it. We'll never get through this. 2.5 minutes. Got minimum 5 minutes.
Okay, let's see how well that works.
Let's go.
It's that this threatens the very fabric of our justice system. In part because this is just the opening act. There's no reason to think that President Trump is going to stop with these pardons. In fact, there's very good reason to think that this is just out there to get people tired, that the worst pardons are yet to come. And it's the usual suspects who are the obvious candidates here. There's no reason to think that the president will refrain from pardoning Jared Kushner, pardoning Bill Barr, pardoning himself, Ivanka, Don Jr., Alan Weisselberg, the CFO of the Trump Organization. But President Trump doesn't have those lines. He doesn't feel shame, and he doesn't give a damn about political norms. Because what happened here is a really, really big deal. President Trump is pardoning a whole bunch of people who engaged in criminality in furtherance of the president's own agenda, for his own campaign, and for other reasons that benefit President Trump personally. Because the problem with pardoning people who engage in actual criminality for the benefit of the sitting president, if the president is allowed to pardon and absolve guilt after the fact, there's a million ways for a sitting president to grift that. Let's take an extreme example. We often talk about how the president could kill someone on Fifth Avenue. But what if the president hired someone to kill a political opponent and then decided to pardon them? Or a less extreme example, let's call it stochastic terrorism, where the president just says, hey, it'd be really great if someone killed my main political rival. And then if you actually pardoned that person, which potentially the president could do, well, then it just incentivizes actual murder of political opponents. And while that's obviously extreme, Vladimir Putin has tried this twice with his main political rival, Alexei Navalny. And obviously there's a state law issue here. Murder is generally a state law crime, so maybe the pardon wouldn't work. But how about this? What if the president intentionally engaged in all kinds of campaign finance violations, getting, let's say, billions of dollars for a campaign slush fund, and then just...
That was like the hardest 2.5 minutes I've ever sat through in my life.
It was your idea, Nate.
Wow. I need to get some more alcohol after that. I'll be right back. That was a difficult 2.5 fucking minutes. That was like one of the worst 2.5 minutes I've ever sat through. I'm not even bullshitting you. There was so much I wanted to say. Matter of fact, I got to listen to that shit again. There was so much that he said.
It was your plan. Let's not pause until the 5-minute mark plan.
That shit was crazy.
Go get your vodka. We'll be here.
That shit was insane. No, I got to talk about this before I forget everything. That was crazy. That was crazy. Well, first, the reason why Trump can't be charged with it. Well, first, let's just go with the first thing he said about, pardoning people who directly could involve him. We don't got to go back too far for that, right? We don't got to go back to it. We just got to go back to a place called Iran-Contra. President George W. Bush, he pardoned 6 people involved in that can directly implicate the president and the former president in Iran-Contra. So that was done. That takes care of that, right? Presidents do that. You kept your mouth shut, we're going to pardon you. President Bush, for instance, pardoned Scooter Libby, right? And VP Cheney was upset at Scooter Libby because Scooter Libby was the one that was indicted for out in the CIA agent, and for him keeping his mouth shut. He was supposed to get a pardon, but President Bush didn't pardon him, and Dick Cheney was upset about that. He was like, yo, you left him out there. He kept his mouth shut. He deserves a pardon. But guess who pardoned him? It was Trump, right? Trump fulfilled that promise. Dick Cheney said, you got to pardon my man. He didn't do it. Then, that's why they didn't talk. So to pretend that the president doesn't pardon his political allies who keep their mouth shut is unfair to just the whole process. If you go like to Andrew Jackson, Andrew Johnson, who was on a $20 bill, he pardoned some of the worst people on the planet. It's just something that he did back then. The second thing I'm going to argue with Legal about. Murder, right? The president says, I want to murder X, murder Z, murder Y, all right? Unless that murder happens on strictly federal property, right? Even then, you might have a problem, right? But unless that murder happens, if that murder happened in somewhere in the United States, that person is going to be charged with state crimes, right? That's state murder, state to state. So that's what you go murder this person, go murder this. Now, it's true the president can give them a pardon, but that part would be ineffective because this person still got to go through state crimes. It's a separate sovereign. And then the last issue, where I believe he's wrong on the law, is that the president can break all these campaign finance laws, right? But he fails to I think, acknowledge that the president has something called sovereign immunity, right? When you're the president of the United States, you have sovereign immunity. So you can't commit any crime. So if let's say if the president was to take out a gun and kill somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue, he can't be arrested. He can't be prosecuted. Why? Because he's a sitting sovereign. It's part of international law. For instance, another person who has that same authority is the Queen of England. If she was to come over here, she has not only diplomatic immunity, but she's a sovereign. So if she was to kill somebody in the streets, stone cold murder, they could not arrest her. They would send her back, but they would not be able to arrest her because she has sovereign immunity. So that's the same principle applies to our heads of state and our heads of government, which is President Trump. So those are just some of the technical reasons why I think this is more of a Trump's a bad guy type video versus this is legally why this is good or why this is not bad. I'm sorry, I've been rambling, but I hope that was coherent.
No, I mean, there was a lot of stuff there, and I mean, to be honest, you did know there was going to be a lot of stuff because you did have the proceeding. We did that about 2.5 minutes in, so you knew how much stuff there was going to be, the density of the BS, and you decided it was a good plan anyway. But the one that I particularly like is the stochastic terrorism, and this is incidentally where you popped into my chat before, because it's like, generally speaking, and you'll make sure to correct me or we'll be precise on our language here, but generally speaking, it's legal to advocate for illegal things. It's not incitement unless it's going to happen imminently. One of the key elements of incitement is there's about to be an imminent lawlessness. And if you're just generally encouraging for things to be done, it's not a crime. Now, in our discussion, we did point out if you're encouraging a specific person to do a specific crime, that might be an accessory. Certainly, if you're engaging with them in an agreement with them, then that would be a conspiracy. But just generally to encourage people to commit illegal things is not illegal. So you could say legally, it seems to me, and you're a former prosecutor, so I'm sure you'll correct me, but it seems to me that you could say it would be good for someone to rob this bank tomorrow because you're not engaging with anyone particular, you're not being accessory, you're not a conspirator, you're just making a general advocacy. And so you can feel free to correct me on that if you like.
No, well, I think there's a couple of things. In law enforcement, one of the key issues is something like civil disobedience, right? Civil disobedience is and that's the civil rights movement, where they would go and say, let's violate the law, right? It's illegal for black people to sit at this counter. So let's go and violate the law. And they'll go encourage people, go, don't do this, violate these laws. So civil disobedience was a way to violate the law and encourage people to violate the law to change the law.
Right.
That's different, right? So, and those people were even prosecuted. Those people were prosecuted. That's what Martin Luther King got. Letters from Montgomery jail, right? Violate the law, he gets punished. So, I do understand that. Yes, sometimes advocating to violate the law, it's levels to the game. You know what I'm saying? If you're violating people to sit at a lunch counter, that's different than advocating, somebody to get killed. And I think you're also correct in the specific, something that has to be specific. I have to advocate for someone specific to be killed, versus this. But I also think you're really talking about now jurisdictionally. There's certain, certain jurisdictions have different rules, So I think to parse it in that way, I think it's just too generalized, right? I think you could get to a point where you could say something that's just so outrageous that even though you're talking about like, for instance, you can't advocate the overthrow of the U.S. government, but that's general. But still, it's still specific enough to say, like, well, this person, is advocating for this particular action. So in contrast, I do your point is well taken, though, and your point is well understood. I just think your point, as I said earlier, I think you're trying to make a point on a bad point. And I think that's where it's failing, right? His point is bad, and you're trying to add nuance to a bad point already. And I think the real problem with it is a simple problem.
They're all bad points, though, Nate. That's the point.
Yeah. Yeah, but your point is true. You're right. General, you can't say somebody should murder someone, right? That's too general. But I think it really depends on the situation, because it's just to say you can't do it and it's never criminal. I think it's too much. I think there are situations in which you can do it and it will still be criminal.
Yeah, I there's obviously a lot of nuance here and a lot of being very careful in exactly what you're saying and what you're not saying, because I think, well, first of all, when you say like it's illegal to advocate for the overthrow of the government, the first thing that came to mind was it depends exactly what you mean to say to overthrow the government, because I mean that's partially what an election is, right? It's partially overthrowing the government and replacing it with a new government. But I think you can even advocate for pretty extreme things, because you can always advocate for. I mean, you could advocate for replacing the U.S. with a monarchy. You could replace it for, it would be better if we were, not an independent country. It would be better if we were part of UK, or, I mean, that's part of freedom of speech too. But there's definitely a nuanced point to be made. But you're right. Maybe I was batting at a bad hit. So fair enough.
Look at this chat. Hank, you're right. It's Andrew Jackson. I'm sorry, I said Andrew Johnson.
Yeah.
I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Don't hate me, man. I'm a dummy. I should look at the $20 bill. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's Andrew Jackson, and Andrew Jackson's my man. It's funny because isn't that Trump's favorite president, Andrew Jackson? Trail of Tears. Andrew Jackson. Yeah. Trail of Tears. Trail of Tears.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. All right. Let's continue with some more legal. Let's pitch at some more bad or hit at some more bad pitches. Yeah.
All right. It's gonna be like 5 hours.
Pardoned all the people who engaged in campaign finance violations for the benefit of the sitting president, who would then have the benefit of billions of dollars of campaign funds. If the president can pardon co-conspirators or pardon those who engage in criminality at the president's benefit, or just simply hand out pardons like thank you cards, there is no end to gaming the system. And of course, on the other side of the aisle, so far, the Republicans have been absolutely silent. Those people who will jump over themselves to fawn over this president, Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, Tucker Carlson, have said absolutely nothing. Nothing. And like I said, this isn't a close case. This is not my side versus yours. It's
a little bit my side versus yours. Again, it's like this I'm a babe in the woods routine is getting a little bit thin for me, Nate.
Yeah.
This is the first time that anyone has done a pardon for political reasons or to favor a political ally. Ever.
Yeah. I think I don't think. Well, I gotta watch. I gotta see the rest of it, because there's no way he can be this obtuse to the history of it. You know what I'm saying? There's no way. I think this is just for show to get people to keep watching. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's definitely what's going on. Sure.
This is an affront to the actual rule of law. Really, at this point, only Ben Sasse has had the temerity to even criticize the move, saying that this is rotten to the core. Well, gee, thanks, Ben. Thank you for your service. And by backing those words up with absolutely no action whatsoever.
What action theoretically would you like Ben Sasse to do? Ben Sasse is a senator of the member of the Senate. What could Ben Sasse do? Because it's generally thought of by most lawyers that the pardon power is plenary, which is another way of saying absolute, which is another way of saying unchecked. So it is not clear what Ben Sasse could theoretically do other than authoring a constitutional amendment. So when he says, well, Ben Sasse, you've done nothing, this would be a good opportunity for legal education. What do you think Ben Sasse could do? Why do you think he could do it? Do you want to take some sort of divergent view that maybe because of necessary and proper clause or because of some other reason, maybe Congress could somehow limit the pardon power? Do you want to lay out an issue of what he could do? You just want to say, well, Ben Sasse can't do something. What do you think he can do?
No, but most people don't realize the pardon power is part of, I like to call it the unhappy triad of rights for individuals. It's for someone to be convicted of a crime, 3 branches of government have to kind of come together. It's the legislature has to write the laws, the executive has to arrest you and say you've broken the law, and then the judiciary has to pass sentence on you. So the pardon power is the final check on that principle, right? If the law is unjust, then hopefully the judiciary would interpret it in a way we would be just. But if they don't do it, then at the end, you still have the president who can go in and say, well, we've forgiven you for this particular crime. So the legal, this whole argument, this whole 5 minutes that we've been talking about is not really based on any true legal acumen. What it is based on is more of emotion, because essentially he's arguing.
No, this is a very strong appeal to emotion. It's like, I don't like it, but we are theoretically a legal education channel, legal, right? I mean, we're supposed to educate people in the law. So it's like, okay, here's the law. You want to mention he's not mentioned the Constitution at any point in the first 5 minutes.
Because the Constitution does not help his argument. His argument, his honestly, what he's talking about now is constitutional amendment, right? Because the Constitution gives the president his authority. So he's saying
he could make that clear.
Yeah, but no, he's not making that clear, because that's not going to feed the narrative. You know how it is.
Yeah, and also, for that matter, it's not like any Democrat has proposed doing anything in particular. I mean, the last I checked, the House is controlled by the Democrats. Do they want to put forward any legislation to restrict the pardon power? What would that even look like? I'm well aware of that, Nate. I don't know.
I'm assuming they know. Like, we're not going to just pass legislation that we know for a fact is unlawful. Maybe they, it's just, and the Republican Senate is not going to pass that anyway. So it doesn't have any hope.
Because there's a lot of damage that's actually going to keep happening before January 20th gets here. And there is absolutely nothing that's in the works to try and stop this. But I shouldn't criticize Ben Sasse. At least he came forward publicly and at least criticized the president. Everybody else seems to be happy just to sit idly by and silent. And unfortunately, it gets worse. Contrary to what you might read on Facebook or Twitter, Trump is almost certainly not going to face criminal scrutiny for even pardoning Manafort or Stone or anybody.
Because it's with the powers of the president.
Yeah, but see, I think that's the one thing that he doesn't understand. The president is executing his constitutional authority. It's like, you can't, of course he's not going to. There's so many, I can call sovereign immunity. I can call this constitutional authority. It's an Article 2 power. It literally is an Article 2 power that says it there.
No. It's a crime, Nate. It's a crime to pardon people because, okay, yeah.
Hold on. The one-time a pardon is illegal.
Well, one time it wouldn't be effective for an impeachment.
Yes, actually, pardon wouldn't be illegal. A pardon is actually never illegal, but the only time you can get a pardon that leads to some type of action is a bribery pardon.
Yeah.
The president bribe
be illegal.
But the pardon may be illegal, but the president would still have to be impeached. You couldn't charge the president for the bribery. You would still have to impeach the president.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Absent actual evidence that there was an explicit quid pro quo between.
Yeah, I do like this comment from Ali that said Obama never pardoned war criminals. Would you like to remind Ali about the pardoning of all the Confederate soldiers? So it's not we've definitely pardoned some war criminals in the past. So even pardoning war criminals, if you think they are war criminals, even pardoning war criminals is not unprecedented. They pardoned all the Confederate soldiers, all of them. So,
the ones that murdered black people and murdered Union soldiers, those people,
Yeah. The people who were trying to uphold slavery.
Yeah.
Those people.
It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing.
Okay.
Between Trump and his co-conspirators, there's not going to be criminal repercussions. There's just not. And I don't think...
Because there's probably no crime in it.
Yeah, pardon.
That'd be why there's no criminal repercussions. There's no criminal repercussions. Nate, as a prosecutor, can you charge people for crimes that don't exist? How's that work?
No, not really.
Oh, okay, just checking.
I think he's trying to stretch it a little bit.
An aggressive attorney general in the next administration is going to change that. It's an abuse of power.
The Attorney General of the United States cannot, in fact, invent crimes. That's true.
And it's not an abuse of power to pardon people. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah.
The guardrail is impeachment, And when you have a couple of days left in the Trump presidency, impeachment is no real guardrail whatsoever. So for all intents and purposes, it's unlikely that
it's no real guardrail. Well, first of all, as you pointed out, technically you can impeach someone even after you leave office. There is that. You can technically impeach someone. But second of all, it's no guardrail for any lame duck president. They all do this.
Yeah.
The controversial pardons at the end of the term. So
and let's not forget, you can impeach somebody in a day, right?
Technically speaking, you could have the House impeach them in the morning and convict them in the Senate in the afternoon. Yeah, it's like there's no barrier. You can do it immediately. Yeah.
President Trump is going to face any kind of real scrutiny as a result of these actions. And while these are uncharted waters, absent very strong proof of a separate crime like extortion or bribery, these pardons are not going to be declared illegal. And it's not even clear that if you found this separate criminality, that it could be declared illegal, the pardons themselves. Yeah, and don't expect future state or federal prosecutions of Manafort or Stone. The complications are probably grave enough that...
Well, you definitely shouldn't expect future federal prosecutions, seeing as they were just pardoned.
Yeah, but not for anything they commit in the future, just for everything they probably committed in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unlikely that they're going to face punishment for their actual crimes. And like I said,
what do you mean they were convicted?
The message has been sent that if you uphold your silence against who is effectively a mafia don,
the president of the United States is a mafia don.
But the thing is, you'd have to say the same thing about George W. Bush, though, at Iran-Contra. You got to say the same thing about Ford and Nixon. You'd have to say the same. Like you can go back time and time again. Scooter Libby and George W. Bush. Talking about how to say that is to say that all these other presidents committed the same thing. Now, maybe you think because Trump had a couple of more than everybody else. I don't know, but I think he's overblown.
Trump has pardoned fewer people than other presidents, unless I'm mistaken.
I think I understand why he's outraged, because he doesn't like Trump, but I think his outrage is misplaced. Maybe Trump will pardon somebody who I'll be shocked about, but these pardons I knew. I think you'd have to be stupid to not know these pardons were coming, right? Like we knew.
Look at that! Look at that angry face, man. That angry face alone is worth an Emmy, right there, man.
Play it, man. Play it. Millions of people are going to watch this.
You're going to get a pardon. You will be rewarded for your service and contravention of justice.
He should stop it. He should put a picture of Oliver North right there. Right? Oliver North. That would blow it all up, right? Ollie North. Yes, you could be rewarded. Boom.
Yeah. The only real question for me at this point is, will I be done in the next hour and a half? Because I'm supposed to go to a social event. Will we be? We're 49 minutes into it. Yeah, it's not going well.
Let's do 3 minutes. 3 straight minutes.
Nate, you know how well that worked out last time.
I know, but I kind of forgot about the last one. So I didn't even get any more alcohol. I want to do 3 minutes, 3 straight minutes. Let's see how bad it gets.
Okay.
That die is cast. That norm has been broken. And you can expect that future administrations are going to take note if there are no real penalties for abusing the pardon power this way. And it's ironic, too, because traditionally the pardon power has been grossly underused. There are thousands of people who receive grossly inappropriate sentences every year. For all the good that the justice system does, it does a lot of bad too. Or at least it's often overzealous in punishing crimes. And there are a lot of people who are in jail that arguably should not be. And historically, presidents are much more likely to underuse the pardon power than they are to overuse it. And to date, we've never seen anything like what President Trump has done. But the whataboutism is strong. People have pointed to the pardoning of Mark Rich by President Clinton. And that pardon rightfully sparked bipartisan outrage. It sparked congressional inquiries. This is not to say that that particular pardon was in any way just or correct. People were rightly outraged about it. But this is so much worse. There was and should have been political fallout for that pardon. But what we're seeing out of the Trump administration is much, much worse. It's dozens of individuals who have a direct connection to the president. And the pardon is being used in a way that really does undermine the rule of law. And that's not an exaggeration, because it's going to change the way that political institutions use the pardon in the future. And it's not going to get better unless there are real punishments. Now, I may be your discount John Krasinski, but let me try to give you some good news here. The first is that Paul Manafort is not going to get his townhouses or ostrich jackets back. Under Ex parte Garland, a pardon does not restore offices forfeited or property or interest vested in others in consequences of the conviction and judgment. So at least the Mueller investigation will still have turned a profit. You also probably know that these pardons don't really affect state law prosecutions, if there is indeed state-based criminality. We know that there are ongoing investigations, particularly in New York, but I counsel you, don't hero worship the investigators. We've been burned time and time again that sometimes that's just too much pressure to put on people like New York AG Tish James and Manhattan DA Cy Vance. A lot of the criminality that has been pardoned is purely federal, with respect to lying to federal prosecutors, with respect to federal campaign finance violations and insider trading. It's unlikely that a lot of those crimes have state law counterparts that could even be investigated and punished, let alone will be. That being said,
how'd that work out for you?
I don't know. It's hard listening to this guy.
Yeah, this 3 minutes was brought to you courtesy of my Timex chronograph. I had to let him finish the sentence, but yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know where to start and stop with some of the stuff because it's just so many stuff. The what about was my favorite line. That's the part where I died inside the most. And when I said watch me die inside, because like the whataboutism is real because of all these other pardons, but this is so much worse than all of them. This is Pearl Harbor times 1,000. Yeah.
Andrew Jackson over 7,000.
Don't hero worship Cy Vance and the Attorney General. They're just going to let us down too. It's all corruption all the way down. Man.
He said setting up if they don't convict, then it's not their fault. He's kind of doubling down. But I think the super chat is good because even though I will say FDR he served 4 terms, so if you average that out, that may not be good. Truman, if you to average the other ones out, half, and Trump is only 94. Yeah, I think Trump has a long way to go. I don't know. I think legal is. I understand what he's trying to do, but he's feeding the base. The base wants to hear this, and he's feeding the base this. So,
well, as to that, Nate, maybe there is a lesson in there somewhere because it seems like the people who do nothing but feed the base do have the most popular channels, both the right and left. Yeah, and those of us who are trying for a more nuanced position, not as much. So maybe what you and I both need to do is actually we need to run to our respective bases, and everything our base does is good, and everything opposite side has done is bad, and we will twist and burn our legal interpretations to pre-fit the narrative, and people will love us.
Well, I don't know. The problem always gets down to is that I don't think I have a base. I have people who enjoy my content because I call everybody out, right? Like I'll do a video against Fox News and I'll do a video against MSNBC and so I'm all over the place. So who do I target? You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, if you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. It's kind of that thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just hard, because some things in here that he's saying is okay, but I think he's doing the same thing that I would criticize anybody else of.
The thing that I sort of remark on is that this is way more like just opinion, not legal analysis. I mean, even with
this is not legal analysis.
No, even with the Captain Marvel thing, where I thought his legal analysis didn't make any sense. At least he was ostensibly trying to interpret the law, however poorly he was doing it. But here it's just like, I don't like this. I don't like this a lot. This is bad. Trump is bad. The Republicans are bad.
I'm thinking, yes, I'm thinking his whole argument is about the pardon power, right? Why can't he pardon people who he tells to kill people, right? That's an argument that people have every time when you have pardons, right? He's not saying anything new. What I do think he's playing down the horrible pardons of the past. Like he pardoned the Mark Rich pardon. You know, that was a horrible pardon. We all know that. The 6 from Iran-Contra, those were horrible pardons, but the president's allowed to do it. And you know what? Nothing changed after that, right? After the Mark Rich part, after Andrew Jackson pardoned the Confederacy, did they say no? We're going to limit the pardon power. If you're not going to change the pardon power after those pardons, then what the hell are you doing? Am I making sense here or no?
You're making a lot of sense to me, man. You're making a lot of sense to me. I mean,
because Trump pardoned 5 or 6 people,
and I have very little doubt in my mind that when Biden's term comes to an end, that it will be followed by politically favorable pardons there too. And I may criticize it politically. I may disagree with it, but I'll still say like it's legal, whatever my political problems are. But I'll at least say, well, this is within the bounds of the law, and here's a whole bunch of reasons why it sucks. But legal here is doing zero legal analysis. I would like to again mention, I think this is the 3rd time me mentioning it, but I'll keep mentioning it. Why not? He has yet to mention the constitutional text.
No,
that would have been helpful just to mention the constitutional text at any point. Do one of those little infographics where he puts it on screen. That'd be nice.
Listen, if I'm Joe Biden now, I think I'm pardoning Hunter maybe my first month or as soon as I get up in there. Right? Why? Why not? Why not? Right? Yeah. It's like, you know, you're going after my son. So what? He's full pardon. What are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do? You know, especially if Trump pardons his son, then you can't talk to me because day one, pardon for Hunter Biden.
If I was Trump, I'd be half tempted to just put together an entire White House staff left and just be like,
let's call it a day.
Hereby issue a full and complete pardon to following people and just list everybody.
Yeah. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Paul Manafort was convicted of numerous different tax crimes, and it's likely that New York State has similar state law tax crimes that he could be charged with. And even better news, recently the New York legislature closed a pardon loophole that would have prevented prosecution of someone who receives a pardon when there is an ancillary New York state law to prosecute them under. So
hold on. I want to ask you
was
something.
Initially successful.
But that would be ex post facto, right? You committed the crime before the law was changed.
Ooh, good question. I don't know. I'd actually really have to delve into it because it'd be like extending statute of limitations maybe or something. So I don't know if that'd be ex post facto or not, because it's not jurisdictional. It's not enhancing the crime.
Because yes, it is. Because when you did it, it wasn't criminal, right? Because you got a pardon. If you did it at that point, it wasn't criminal. Now you changed it, and it is criminal.
Ooh, I think I'd actually have to get into the details. I don't think it's a ridiculous argument, but I actually have to get into the details on that. Because it might not be ex post facto. I'd have to actually really delve into it. But yeah, because I think it's been, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's been upheld that it's not ex post facto to extend statutes of limitations.
Yes, extended statutes of limitations but you generally I think it's if when you did the particular act, if it wasn't a crime then, you can't then make it a crime in the future, right?
So they're not saying that because apparently what I'm understanding here is that under New York law, if you got an ancillary pardon, they would not prosecute you, but they're removing that liability. So you would have always been liable under the it's not making you more liable. It's just, I'd actually have to get into the details. I'm not saying you'd be insane to argue it in court.
No, I'm just asking.
The actual legal analysis on it, I'm not 100% clear on.
Yeah, and just for everybody, I could totally be 100% wrong. I'm just assuming that if he pardoned somebody and they weren't eligible to be prosecuted back then 10 years later you can't take that away and say, well, now we can prosecute them for those crimes. That may not be legal. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's a very fair point, and it's I'm not quite sure what the answer is.
In appealing his New York prosecutions, it's possible that now that New York has closed this loophole that they can move forward with prosecuting with him on state law crimes. It's an open question. We'll see what the New York appellate courts hold.
Fair enough. I mean, it's an open question. Even Nate and I aren't quite 100% sure because we're not quite sure about the nature of what this liability is extending and whether it's collateral or a primary. I mean, this could get very into the weeds.
Well, but there's one thing about Paul Manafort particularly is that it may depend on when you get the pardon. Like if you'd have got the pardon before the law changes, then I think you got an issue. But now since you've gotten a pardon after the law has changed, then I don't think you have that problem.
That's fair. That's a very good point. All right, fair enough.
You've also likely heard a lot about the Fifth Amendment with respect to being pardoned. And it is indeed true that receiving a presidential pardon, if you accept it, does limit the scope under which you can claim the Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. But it's unfortunately not absolute. If you face state law liability, then you can still invoke the Fifth Amendment privilege.
Of course.
So this will indeed help both prosecutors and investigators with respect to inquiries related to these pardons and the underlying criminality, but it's not going to help that much, unfortunately. Additionally, it's possible that the pardons themselves might be crimes. Maybe. I wouldn't put too much stock in this, but remember that I said that President Trump is not going to face criminal prosecution for these pardons. Well, it's possible that he might. There's a slim chance, but it's possible. We've seen time and time again that these members of the Trump administration, especially the ones who have been around since the beginning, are completely inept. The DOJ has already gotten wind of a pardon for purchase scheme related to Elliot Broidy. And it's possible that there is an explicit agreement between members of the Trump administration and these pardons. It's possible that people did attempt or were successful at buying a pardon. You can look.
That seems a bit unlikely.
That's well. Hold on. Let's not parse words. That's full conspiracy theory right there, right?
That's pretty conspiracy theory.
Like he's just throwing shit, and he keeps. If you go back, he possibly. That's full conspiracy theory. That's full bullshit. You just got to call it what it is. Let's not. That's nothing you to give the benefit of the doubt. He's essentially saying he could be. It's just bullshit. He's just throwing out conspiracy theories now. Is it possible? Yeah. A meteorite can come down and kill me right now. That's possible, but that he's parsing words now. He's just trying to make it worse than what it is.
Fair enough. Incidentally, for the 366 of you who are currently watching, if you're not already a subscriber to the channel, I would very, very much appreciate it if you'd please hit the subscribe button. If you hit the subscribe button and subscribe, I'm trying to see if I can squeeze out 20,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And so if those of you who are not currently subscribed would be so kind as to hit the subscribe button to see if I can help meet this stretch goal, I'd really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate all the people who have helped support my work. And as I've said before, one of the most wonderful benefits to this, to me personally, has been some of the relationships I've built with people like Nate, people like Viva, people like Nick, people like Emily, people like Laren French, people like Rob from R&R Law Group. The collection pack grows, and we're going to see if we can get Hogue Law on. He's a hard man to pin down, but we're working on it, and just continue to do this. And that's been one of the great things, is that I now have like 6 or 7 lawyers to talk to and really geek out on the law stuff. I'm really looking forward to our stream tomorrow, Nate, with Emily, where we're going to geek out hard on personal jurisdiction and try to figure out what the hell on personal jurisdiction when it comes to internet defamation. That's going to be an interesting conversation.
I forgot to tell you something. You know our last video?
Yeah.
Not only did YouTube demonetize it, they made it 18 and over.
Ooh.
Our last live stream. I don't know why. I think it's because we said the word Pornhub, but they killed it.
You just said the word again. I'd like to point out. Thanks.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is going to be 18 years and older. I don't know. Obviously it probably wasn't for that. It's probably because we went into a little more detail, but it's insane. And I didn't ask for it. They did it themselves. They're like, say, I think this email, your live stream with this guy is no good for YouTube. Like, what the hell? So
we got to watch what we say. The law, man. Just discussing the law. The law's not always a pretty place, though.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Look at the list of people who received pardons, and it's not just Republican cronies and Trump cronies, people who actually engaged in real criminality, but also those who engaged
everybody
in
who gets a pardon usually
just
engaged in criminality. Though people who get pardons are usually engaged in criminality. You don't pardon innocent people.
The pardons for the non-criminals is an interesting idea. Maybe we should start a new charity. Pardons for the non-criminals.
Now it does happen.
Pardons for tots.
It does happen when you put Nixon, for instance, wasn't a criminal, but we know he was going down that road. But he got a pardon, you know what I'm saying? So we understand. They understand.
Why have they never issued a pardons to people who are 5 years old, Nate?
I don't know. It's probably because they can't be criminals, right? But don't forget turkeys. Turkeys get pardons.
Turkeys gets pardons, yeah. Turkeys get pardons.
Just very, very rich. People that don't necessarily fit into this category of people who are being rewarded by the president for their service to the president. People who might have the means to actually buy a pardon. And if
I have to say, I on a sort of just technical or aesthetic level, I do love the counting the money thing. It's so blatantly obvious,
baby.
So I have to admire it a little bit. It's like, well, we're not only bribing for people. Let's show some stock footage of someone counting some hundreds. Wonder where Legal Eagle gets his stock footage from, just out of random curiosity.
Maybe his bank account. It was like, throw this up there. Let me
buy from Getty or what? I just don't know where he gets the stock imagery from. Just asking for a friend.
This guy's killing the views, so he's banking in those dollars.
Yeah. He's doing something right, man. If Legal Eagle wants to have a collab, we'll have him on. It'll be an interesting conversation, I'm sure. But yeah.
No, I think you guys give him a little too much grift. Because I think he's a fabulous attorney. I think he's a great legal communicator. I just think sometimes
he's fine for the most part. For the most part, he's fine. And I even publicly praised him on my community tab one time for the stuff he did relating to the election lawsuits, because I thought he was right on the money. And so I put on my community tab, I thought he was right on the money. So when I think he's right, I have no problem saying he's right. I think for sometimes he not so much, but for the most part, he's fine.
Yeah. But I think things like this, when he makes it seem like he's giving you a legal analysis, but here nobody's ever heard. We haven't heard about the, like you're saying, we've never even seen anything about the Constitution or the fact that it's it's a plenary power of the office of president. This is one of the powers that he has to utilize, and the fact that if you're exercising your power as president, you can't be held criminally liable for that. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't happen.
If it's within the domain of your power of the president, you can't possibly be held liable for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not possible.
What was it? Was it the federal government or the state government or something? I think it was the feds actually went after the Texas governor for vetoing legislation, and the Court of Appeals like, you can't do that.
Yeah, he had exercising authority
to veto legislation. It's within his domain, but they actually tried to go after him for exercising the veto power. It's like,
that's strange.
I should recover that case on my channel. I should dig that up, because it was one of the most bizarre. I thought it was bizarre from square one. It's like he didn't want to sign off on the legislation. It's like, you can't do that; it's crime. It's like, no, he's the governor. He has the right to veto legislation.
But don't forget though. And this is with a fine line. Robert Blagojevich, for instance, in Illinois, he had the right to appoint the senator, but he tried to sell. He didn't have the right to sell it. Yeah, and that was the issue. So,
yeah, fair enough.
Explicit agreements are out there. It's possible that the agreement was memorialized and that emails or documents will leak. That'd be
hilarious if it's in an email. But yeah.
The attorney-client privilege will be violated because of the crime fraud exception. And someone might talk after Trump can't actually pardon people anymore. If there is an actual clear quid pro quo between President Trump or other members of his administration and the granting of a pardon, it could conceivably give rise to independent criminality and potential punishment. That's a big if. But hopefully this ends the discussion about future prosecutions, or at least future investigations. Past pardons have led to congressional investigations, and this one absolutely needs investigations, if not outright prosecutions. And if not prosecutions on a federal level, then prosecutions on a state law level.
I'm not even sure where the state law jurisdiction would be, even if there were bribes.
There would
for
be
the
no state law.
pardons
There would be no
because
state law jurisdiction.
it's federal in nature. So even if there were out and out bribes, even if there were out and out all the rest of it, because it's in the federal domain, I'm not even sure where the state jurisdiction would lie.
Unless he went to New York and offered the bribe in New York or something like that.
Yeah, but even
that's the only way I could see that.
Because it's federal power. I'm not 100% sure that the state of New York would have domain over it.
I don't know, because generally the way those laws are written is about things of value. If somebody offers you something of value, it's not saying offer. So I think you'd have to make but then you get to the sovereign immunity issue again. Well, he is president, so he can't.
You get a federal preemption.
Yeah,
it's core federal power. I'm not.
It's a lot of money.
I'm not even sure that if the bribe actually occurred in New York, I'm not even sure you could get state jurisdiction. It would be an interesting legal argument. Not that it'll ever happen, but
you could get jurisdiction about the person. I think the president would be immune, sovereign immunity, which is I think the person, or even the person that offered for the bribe or something, that person you can get on state law, but I don't think you can get them federally because
maybe some sort of accessory or conspiracy for corrupt services.
But that would be under state law, though. That wouldn't be under state law.
No, I just because it's in the federal domain. It says normally the idea of joint jurisdiction or common jurisdiction is not that big a deal, but in this particular context, because it's a plenary power within the executive, the idea of some sort of joint state overlap, I'd actually have to think about it. Another very esoteric legal question where I'm not 100% sure what the right answer is on that one.
Yeah, it gets complicated. This would get very complicated.
Everything gets complicated.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I understand his argument.
Hopefully, this represents the absolute zenith of presidential power.
Sure.
Yes, it does. That's the problem. Yeah. That's exactly the problem. It's the pinnacle. It's plenary, zenith. It's the highest power. This is exactly the problem for all these issues, and exactly why I'm raising these issues where normally state prosecution might be possible. And I'm I'm not sure here because exactly this issue. It's the zenith, pinnacle. It's at the absolute power. It's part of the sovereign power of the federal government and all the rest of it. It's this is not just something you can put as a throwaway. It's a big deal, Nate.
It's like being commander-in-chief, right? It's like him being commander-in-chief.
It's a big deal, Nate.
Yeah, so you're right. I
At the moment, the president has never been more powerful. The president receives almost unchecked power.
Yeah, well, if you want to come over to conservative or traditionally right-leaning ideas of maybe the president shouldn't have this much power, maybe administrative power is bad. If you want to come onto the anti-Chevron train, let me know, because I'm here. Anytime you want to remove the power of the president, remove the power of the administrative state, you want to weaken the power of the president, weaken the power of the federal government, let me know. We can have a conversation. But this is more a right-wing talking point. If you're upset, it's we grant all this power, now we're upset at the power. It's well, welcome to the right wing, man, where we've been arguing about this stuff for a little bit now.
Well, I'll say this. It all depends on who's in power. Because when Obama was in power, the left was all for executive authority, right?
Exactly.
DACA, for instance. When Bush was in there, they were all against it, all the foreign wars. So it really depends on the argument and who's in power, who's wielding that power. And that's why I'm glad the Constitution didn't change from president to president, right? Everybody gets to use the power the way they choose to. And the thing that I think upsets me about this particular video is that when he put up that big if, 5 minutes of that video was just him just saying, if a meteorite came down and hit me, this is what could happen. It was all this theoretical thing about nonsense, because there's no way. And I think it's just not a real expectation to give the viewers to let the viewers or lead the viewers to think that the president can be arrested for using his part in power. That's just not possible. It's just not going to happen. And to make it seem like Trump's pardons were the worst in history, then it just seems like he hasn't done his research. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know where to go from here. But we only got how many minutes? We got 2 minutes left. So
some 4 minutes left. But yeah, we're making progress. But yeah, I don't know if necessarily being libertarian, but trying to be as intellectually honest, I think, is good. And I aim to do that as much as possible. I consider myself more Republican, more conservative than really libertarian, because I think the libertarians, at least in my view, as a perspective, but I think the libertarian argument kind of goes too far, and a more conservative, more Republican argument is better. But that's a personal opinion. But I try to, as best as I'm possible within my own framework, remain as consistent as possible. Or try to be as open-minded, or try to be as consistent as possible. And we all have our failings, but it's like, yeah, I don't get a lot of sense from Legal Eagle that he's even attempting to be self-aware or even attempting to be consistent. There's no admission to inconsistency or admission to feebleness. There's no admission to anything. There's no attempt to be self-aware of your own biases. And that's a bit frustrating at times.
I agree, but I think I think when you look at the extremes of our legal community, you have those two extremes, right? You have the extreme left and the extreme right. And I think this is someone who's putting out something and is trying to make a point. President Trump is bad. President Trump is the worst. Orange man bad. Orange man horrible. And this is another example of how horrible he is. Now, how will history judge it? I just don't know. But I can just say now, if you're talking about are the pardons that Trump laid out something that's even unusual, it just doesn't seem that way to me. But maybe he's making an argument to tell me why they are. But unfortunately, as a trained attorney who's read the Constitution, who understands these principles, yeah. it's not as
reading the Constitution is a good place to start.
Yeah, it's just not as convincing to me, because I know at the end of the day, this is one of those powers of the president that he can use unless you have evidence to show. The Justice Department looked at this, but unless you have evidence to show any of this stuff, then more than likely this is just somebody talking to the wind, trying to for entertainment purposes for a lefty audience. That's all this really is.
Yeah, no joke in that. Yeah, for sure.
With respect to executive power and executive privilege. But these actions are so far beyond the pale that I hope it forces the citizens and members of Congress to actually act, to actually put some real checks and balances, and to scale back some of the power that has been granted from Congress to the presidency. Make no mistake, this is a political Rubicon. This is every bit as bad as it appears. In some ways, we're lucky that they've been so ham-fisted about this, because there's no hiding it. This isn't 4D chess. This is just plain cronyism and corruption. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. Just don't let it wear you down. But Americans did their part, and they voted overwhelmingly to send President Trump packing. We could be looking down the barrel of 4 more years of this, but luckily he will be leaving office. But there's one last thing to do, which is that we must demand of the future administrations that they not let these pardons go unchecked, that they cannot allow this criminality to go unchecked.
We cannot allow these pardons to go unchecked. The plenary power, the unchecked power, Nate. We can't allow the unchecked power to go unchecked, Nate.
Yeah, again, this is a political speech. This is a political speech, and he's saying what he wants, but what he believes people want to hear, right? I don't think he's made any argument that is convincing. Right? I understand his argument. Orange man bad. Orange man pardons bad. These are the worst pardons ever. You guys just don't see it. But
I hope Trump issues a pardon to Devin just for the hell of it. That'd be fun. Just to see what happens. That might be fun.
But I do want to ask the chat: are we wrong when we say these can't be the worst pardons ever because the Confederacy was pardoned? Look at some of Andrew Jackson's pardons. Look at it seems like his argument is not against really Trump, but the authority vested in the president for pardons.
And depending on your point of view, wasn't it Carter who issued the pardon for all the Vietnam draft dodgers?
Yeah.
So that's a global pardon to a lot of people who arguably violated the law en masse. So, depending on your philosophy and stuff, but the idea that this is something unique or something, it's like whatever.
But draft dodging versus, picking up arms and trying to overthrow the U.S. government, these are two I think the Confederacy is just right on point. You know what I'm saying? What's something more worse that you can do than murder people and pick up arms and, and then, oh yeah, we forgive you for all those crimes.
3 more minutes, man. 2.5 more minutes. Oh, Lord.
Unchecked. We assume that the president's pardon power is near universal, but so much of this is debating how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. Presidential pardons have
What?
Yeah, I didn't get that, but continue.
I'm not even
I don't even know
100% sure I get the analogy.
Yeah, he's just saying stuff.
Okay.
Barely been challenged. We don't know what the Supreme Court would have said if the Ford pardon of Nixon had been challenged, or the Iran-Contra pardons had been challenged. And we don't know what a Supreme Court...
I'm reasonably confident I would know what would have happened if those pardons had been challenged. The Supreme Court would tell me.
Well, what does the Constitution say?
Well, the Constitution does say that you have the power to pardon for all crimes against the United States, but what that really means is
it something limited in there? Does it say does it say you can't do it for this crime or that crime? Is it limited some way? Is there something we're not reading here?
Under a living constitution with evolving understanding, what that really means is all the crimes
Well, all right. Well, seems like you can pardon them. It doesn't say except for this one. It says grant pardons or reprieves. Over. I don't know. It'll be an easy case.
Do with these current raft of pardons. And we don't know all of the information about these particular pardons. Was there an explicit quid pro quo? Is there independent criminality about these particular pardons? The American people have a right to know that particular information.
Every pardon ever given.
We must demand that the next administration, either through the Attorney General or a special prosecutor, investigate the issuance of these pardons.
No.
Investigate the underlying criminality itself. If there is remaining criminality out there, charge them, indict them, test the sufficiency of the pardon, test the breadth of the pardons, and let's see what the Supreme Court has to say. And if the Supreme Court upholds the use of these pardons, then
stop it. He sounds now like the people against the election for Trump. He sounds like them now. Let's just sue to get it to the Supreme Court to change. Right? Let's just sue.
I didn't really make the connection in my mind, but you're right. Now you bring it out.
That's what the people are right. Let's just sue and let's get it to the Supreme Court so then
let's just see
what they say, right?
Decide it.
Even though we know it's bullshit, right? And that's what he's saying. Even though we know he has ultimate power and authority, right?
Screw standing, screw rightness, screw all these things. Let's just get the Supreme Court
to sue.
They'll fix it. And if they decide against it, it's because they're a bunch of political cowards and or corrupt and or bought in and or part of the Illuminati and or part of the Rand Corporation or whatever bullshit theory, lizard people, I don't know. But yeah, this is when you compare it to that, let's just send this is exactly or a large part of why I was critical of some of my brethren on the right who was like, let's send this to the Supreme Court. Because this is more left-leaning thinking. It's like the judges should be super legislatures. The judges should fix all our problems. Fuck the political branches. Just let the robed men from on high.
Well, hold on. That's what he's saying though. He's saying he wants the Supreme Court to be the super legislature and
I'm well aware that's what he's saying.
That's the president's power.
Yes, my well aware that's what he's saying.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he's saying. That's why my brethren on the right who are making arguments along these lines, I'm like, you're idiots because this is what the left's saying. Let's make the left be super legislatures who don't have to have originalism or don't have to interpret the Constitution. They can just import modern standards and modern sensibilities and impose our will from on high. Forget the political process.
Yeah. This is horrible. Yeah, he's just gone. He's gone with this. But this is going to get millions of views. Watch. Nobody's going to watch us. They're going to watch this. That's crazy.
Wait, we have 353 people that are watching this, and we're competing against the.
Play. We got a couple more minutes. Play this. Let's see what he has to say. He wants to change the Constitution. He sounds just like the election people.
Put limits on this power because that's what Americans deserve. We fought a war to throw off the rule of a king. And these pardons come as close as Americans ever have to reverting back to tyranny. Because as bad as these pardons are, next time will be worse. You should.
Now, you got to give him points for that delivery. Next time, it'll be worse. That's Emmy, man.
God.
That's Emmy. The delivery is real.
Oh, my God. It's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Next time, it'll be worse. Next time, unless we stop it now. I'd also like to point out that next time would be under the Biden administration. So, there's that.
Yeah, I just don't like I don't know. I just don't know. I understand why he's doing this though. Like, I want to be very clear. I understand why he's doing this, but I think
because it speaks to his base and to the bread tube who will love him.
I just don't. It's just that he should at least mention that, about the historical, pardons and, some of the crazier ones, and, so people can have them in context. Because the only thing he's been doing is just telling us these are the worst, but not comparing them to any, he compared it to the Mark Rich one, but then he just kind of glossed over that. There's so many of them that are out there that are even worse. And I think Trump only has like 94 pardons, right? He's got like a very small amount, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. Play the last couple of minutes. Let's see what he says.
I think we're about to get into some sort of ad, but we'll let him shill for us. Tell us about now. Here's the question: before he starts shilling for whatever he's going to shill for, what is he about to transition to? Is he about to transition to Indochino? Is he about to transition to the people who do the polos? Is he about to go to like Nebula or Great Courses Plus? What is he about to shill for, Nate?
Well,
what's your vote?
I'm not too sure, but I can tell it's a shill because look at the smile now. He's smiling.
Yeah.
No attitude to stage, right? I got something to sell you.
All right, so
get ready to buy this.
So all you people who are in the chat, can insert your prediction now and see whether you're right. And no cheating if you've seen ahead. And all the people who are at this point in the video on DVR, put your prediction below. No cheating. What is he about to show for? Is he about to show for Indochino? Is he about to show for the polo people, the underwear people? Is he about to show for Nebula, or what is he about to show for? Your predictions now. And thank you for the super chats. Barack Obama, pardon commuter, or sin in the conviction of 1927 people.
Yeah, Trump has only got 94 people. Yeah, so it's again.
Ting Mobile. Yeah, is it a Ting? Is it a Skillshare? What is it? Was it about to be a? Was it about to shill for thing?
I see China suits. I see underwear.
Yeah. All right, let's rate Shadow Legends. All right, so let's see what the plug is going to be. This will be good.
Be absolutely filled with rage. I am. And I'm frankly surprised that more people aren't. But this isn't about my team versus yours. This isn't about red versus blue.
Oh my God.
Yes, hold on. We got to listen for the show. You cutting it off. He's building me up right now.
Sorry, he said it's not about my team versus yours. It's not about red versus blue.
It's not.
It's a little bit about both those things, man.
You're not gonna let us finish this, bro. Finish the 5 minutes. I want to hear who's shilling for. We got to things, man.
Blue.
Let's go.
This is about someone taking action that is more fitting for a dictator than it is an American president.
I think it's going to Great Courses Plus.
So please, stay vigilant.
Okay.
Hold on to that rage, because this is as bad as anything that we've ever seen.
All right. You said that a couple of times.
Don't let fatigue set in.
All right. This third time we've heard of fatigue.
Punish the people responsible, not just the Trump administration itself, but all of its enablers.
We
can come back from this.
It's all night. All right. We've heard that.
Make no mistake. We're on a precipice.
Okay.
And things are going to get worse before they get better.
All right. Am I VPN? Are we at VPN now?
The only way back is on the high road.
Okay.
And it's going to be a long and painful process.
All right. You're talking me down now.
But we can recover as long as we remember to hold the guilty responsible.
Oh, there's no ad. We're denied. We're denied our shill. I'm sad. We're all denied our shill. Yeah. Apparently, there's no shill today.
Oh my God.
I mean, I didn't know that was possible, Nate, to not shill.
Yo, the last 3 minutes were just like him keep saying the same shit over again. It's like, you know, you said this like 5 minutes ago. I think he was just trying to, how long was that video? He was just trying to get it over like
19 minutes and 37 seconds, man.
Yeah, he got 19 minutes of watch time out of us, man. That's your fault. Give him all that watch time.
I did, yeah. I'm sorry, yeah.
I thought you watched this already. You were supposed to tell us there was no shill at the end. You made us all vote.
No, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it. I got through about 25% of it, and I want to share my reactions to the rest of it live. I didn't watch it.
Oh my god, that's crazy! Damn.
Yeah,
we got to get some people to show for us.
Yes, I'd show if I could. Absolutely, I'd show if I could. Have you heard about the all new game Raid Shadow Legends? It's storming the internet. You should go play it because it's awesome. The new dynamic multiplayer that's sweeping the nation. Raid Shadow Legends. Download today. Yeah, chill. Are you kidding me?
You said we just show for, yes, I would show for Biden and Harris. Would I show for Trump? That would be a little harder for me, but I would do it. It all depends on how much money I'm going to get, you know. But that'd be a little tougher because I still got to look my kids in the face. You know, it's funny. My daughter, I can't even say this too loud. My daughter was like a huge Trump supporter, right? She I don't know why she loves President Trump. So she goes awesome, so she goes to school, right?
Shirts and stuff.
No. So she goes to school, and you know we're in school, you know, in very liberal New York. She goes to school, so then she comes back one day and she's like, "I like Hillary Clinton. I don't like Donald Trump." So I'm like, "You liar! Why don't you like Donald Trump?" Oh, because everybody says Donald Trump is bad. This. So I was like, "All right. So do you really like Hillary Clinton, or you just say that so they'd be nice?" She's like, "Yeah, I don't like Hillary Clinton. I like Donald Trump." And I was like, even if my child is being bombarded, but she's still holding on to the principles of conservative.
Girl, man. She knows the truth, man.
No, but now she's getting more and more into the whole, you know, lefty. But she's young now. You know, when you're young, you're getting more lefty. But it's just crazy. So
the right wing has it right, man. You gotta teach her the right way. Baker, she's got to have it better than you did. Teach her about the right way, so she'll have it better.
No, you know what? I always, you know what I feel? I feel like I'm in this weird space because I'm not one of those people who say all right wing stuff is bad and all left wing stuff is bad, right? Like there's some things on the left that I'm for. You know, I think climate change is real, but I think I'm a Second Amendment guy. You know, I want my gun. You know what I'm saying? Like
fighting,
you know,
fighting hopeless cause, yeah.
I gotta fuck, you know. I'm a member of the NRA, you know. But you know, but do I think Black Lives Matter? But then I think sometimes it's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It's like this, like you said before. You always say this. There's no nuance. You know, it's like it's either you're for us or against us. And I don't think that's how most people live. Most people can call out like a George Floyd, but still say that Breonna Taylor there were some issues. You know, and I think that's healthy.
Why do I have to be on one side or the other? Why can't I call out the police in George Floyd and side with the police in the Wendy's parking lot in Atlanta?
Yeah, it's funny because remember, and it's interesting because most of these issues, I think all the issues we actually come down the same one. But I was called like a traitor because I thought Kyle Rittenhouse was self-defense, right? I said, you know, if you look at it, it seems self-defense to me. But now it's like you're a traitor to the black race. I'm like, what the hell, you know? Because some
actually was critical legal analysis over here.
Yeah, it's like, come on. But
you know, I've gotten some of that too. And to be fair, to critique myself, I need to be better in sort of dealing with some of that criticism and blowback because I've gotten it in the Vic Mignogna situation. I've gotten it in the Todd situation where because I'm taking, you know, unpopular views, which is my best view, I'm getting criticism, and I don't necessarily always deal with that the best way.
Yeah,
and that's a failing of mine. And I've, you know, so maybe I'll get better at it as I do more of it, but it's something I need to work on because,
you know, it's one thing about let's say even the Toddy case. My opinion is is against the grain, right? Because I say this: if you just look at any defamation, look at the video I just did with about what's his name, Tucker Carlson.
Sure.
If you take the Tucker Carlson situation and apply it to the Toddy situation, there's no way that there's, you know, if they apply that same standard to commentary channels, there's no way it's going to get through, right? It's just not going to happen. And I think like Nick Riccietta, he just said the other day, the jurisdictional thing too is still a problem too. So it's just like, but I think here online,
tomorrow on jurisdiction is going to be interesting as hell because I don't know if I need to send you that link if I haven't already on some of the law review articles because I read some law review articles. I got more confused
about personal jurisdiction.
Yeah, in the internet age, when it comes to like defamation online in the internet age and social media, it's like trying to figure out where jurisdiction stops and starts on personal jurisdiction sounds like a total pain in the ass.
But don't forget, though, it's really where the defendant, who has authority over the defendant. So, it's hard for another state to go in and pull a defendant out of a different state. That's what they're going to have to overcome. And I think Toddy has enough money where she should just go and file it in Minnesota, and they'll do it. And I don't know if you know choice of law clauses, but you file it in Minnesota, and then they'll do it, and then the Minnesota courts, which happens, they'll use what's it called, Washington law, if that's what law they choose to use. So that's the
if you sue in Minnesota, you can sue for defamation in Washington, and you'd apply Washington law for the Washington defamation. Of course, you would.
So I, it felt like it's a problem that they can't get over. But again, I think that the case for Toddy is just a bad case. It's a bad case in the sense of those type of defamation cases against people in that particular sphere. It's just hard to make out, and especially with the jurisdictional issue. But again, that's against the grain. People are going to say I'm a shilling for Katie, but it's just not. It's just that's my honest opinion.
Yeah, I mean, as I've made a point of mentioning to people, although you told me about the case, you didn't tell me what to say. You didn't tell me what opinion to have.
No.
You mentioned that there's this case. You mentioned that there might be some traffic in it because it's a 9 million YouTube channel. It might be good for engagement because people will be interested in it. But you didn't tell me what to think or what to say. And I just looked at it, and I do the standard thing I typically do. If I'm reading something written by one party, I read it the other way around because the party who wrote it is trying to make it look as good for them as possible. So of course I'm going to apply the bias the other way. So I'm reading something written by Toddy. I'm reading it to poke holes, like I'm an attorney for KJ, and the other way around, because that's the most honest thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but just trying to look at this thing, and we'll see how it goes. I'm thinking about trying to get into the business lawsuit with Toddy and the partner, because that might be interesting too. But I don't know if we're going to go down that road or not, but we'll see.
Well, I do have, supposedly in a couple of weeks, I should have the article coming out of it, the New York Times, against the New York, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Yeah, I told you I think they were trying to throw me under the bus because they were saying I didn't, there's something I was like, the reporter calls me and she's like, "Did you say this to the Manhattan DA?" And I was like, "Yeah, I remember. I said it to him a couple of times. Not the Manhattan DA, but the ADA who's working the case." And they're like, "Well, is there any way you can show it?" I said, "I filed it in my goddamn court papers."
That's right. That's right.
And they're like, and she was like, "Did you send it to me?" I was like, "Yeah, I sent it to you." She's like, "Oh, you did send it in the motion." I was like, "Of course, it's right there. It says it right there." So they were like, "Oh my god, this makes it so much easier." So, but we'll see. Hopefully, people will enjoy it. And then now people are my only issue now is people are going to going to be able to find me easily. So because my name's going to be plastered all over the place, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, my high point of my life so far was when I was quoted substantively in Cosmo. That's what I going pretty well in my own life, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, this legal video, I think, has would be the right way to put this. It's more revealing of his biases. Yeah. I think he's getting more and more bold in is willing to show his colors. And I don't begrudge him in sort of I don't begrudge him being opinionated, but I begrudge, same way I begrudge other lawyers who will go not named here when they're very passionate and very opinionated and very sort of bold in their statements without nuance, and they're presenting things with an absolute certainty that I think is unwarranted. But I listen to a lot of BreadTube. I listen to a lot of left-leaning YouTube because I think it's interesting. Try to keep me focused and honest, but it's so off-putting that he shills so hard for one side and doesn't represent any nuance or any sort of doubt or any sort of uncertainty of anything. Everything is 100% crystal clear all the time, and I'm like, the law is just not like that. The law is very, very rarely crystal clear.
You see this? I have a dollar bill up here. This is what it's about. That's what it's about, baby. Because he can't come out there and say, "Well, Trump did something good," right? That's not going to help his base. He's not going to get 1 billion views on that type of video. His videos have to be attacked. But I think what this thing did that was poor. What this video did that was poor was it allowed you to really get into his left-leaning piece, because like me, I'm left-leaning. I'm doing it. People know I voted for Biden. People, I lose subscribers every time I say it. People know where I stand. But when I review a case or something, you wouldn't know. When you go to my channel, you review one of my police cases, you won't know. You'd be like, I don't know if this guy is left-leaning, right? I don't know what the hell this guy is, right? And that's the way you do legal analysis, right? You're supposed to do legal analysis. There's been times on this channel with Kurt where my legal analysis was against the Democratic Party, right? The Pennsylvania case, for instance, right?
Exactly. My analysis was against the Republican Party, and your analysis was against the Democratic Party.
And you turned out to be right, though. Yeah, and you turned out to be right. You were correct. I was wrong. But the fact of the matter is the analysis was something that was well-reasoned, and we both thought about it. So these are the conclusions. So that's what so legal education should be about that. But I don't think legal is trying to give you legal. I think it's entertainment, and I think it's entertainment from a left-leaning point of, not the left-leaning, from a left point of view, not left-leaning, he's full left. Yeah.
Leftist point of view.
Yeah. To call him left-leaning would be wrong.
And I particularly like when you do your segments where it's like you're the jury and just lay things out. I thought, or even a reasonable person in your latest, which I thought was fine.
Oh yeah. But it's funny because I got a lot of attacks in the chat about, oh, you're setting it up. I'm like, but I'm not a reasonable person because I thought that he was saying what he was saying. I'm not a reasonable person too. But that's what it's supposed to be. Really, what we're trying to do is open people, because people, you ever heard the term think like a lawyer? And I think you do that well. When you read these cases, you're helping people think like a lawyer.
And I just even want to do it better. I want to do it more. I've really enjoyed this last year because I've really gotten serious into YouTube. Maybe 2 months or 3 months more than a year ago. So, but something along the time frame. But I've loved it so much. I've loved reading the cases. I've loved talking to people I've loved, because this is what I just want to do it more and do it better. And I feel like I can do it better. I feel like I have room to grow. And this has been some fun.
Are you going to do a year in review? You should do a year in review.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I could get Nick on for a year in review. If I could get him onto my channel for a year in review, not for Lisa reasons, because I'm trying to crack 20,000 subscribers, and Nick has a larger base. Yeah, and so I was saying get him to appear on my channel so I could get some additional subscribers. It's a stretch goal because I just passed 19,000 from Emily, and so I was like, but I'm already at 19,300. I was like, well, maybe I can squeeze out 20,000 before the year of the end. It's like, I still have 3 days, man. Maybe we'll see what we can do. And maybe with my appearance on Emily's channel tomorrow, we'll see if I can squeeze off some more. But yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, you should do a drive, because I know, like, for me, I think you've gotten as much as you can get from mine, because I think a lot of my viewers, they want the quick 15-minute where you do a lot longer of content. So, I'm
not necessarily sure I'm doing it the best way possible, but it's been an interesting way of doing it. So I think that the way you do it is great. The way the segments you do, and I don't script my stuff. The way I do it, is I do my batch records on Sunday, and I read it very fast just to highlight the stuff I'm interested in. It's interesting because I've been doing it so long. I can kind of read it without reading it, because I can like read the segments that I'm interested in without really reading it in substance. So then when I go back and I share it, it's kind of like the first time I've read it, because it kind of is in some ways, because I'm like only a quarter reading it to figure out what I'm interested in and not really processing it. And then I get to share my reactions and kind of do it improv. We'll do it live, Bill O'Reilly style. It seems to be working out pretty well. I'm not sure it's the best way of doing it, but it's a way of doing it.
But isn't that? But the thing is, you do the same thing. Like R&R Law Group does it the same way, Lauren. And the fact that you've gotten up to 20,000 subscribers doing it this way, I wouldn't change a thing, because you're just, it's going to be exponential growth. And the thing, like for most people out there, the thing that got me to where I'm at is just one video, and that's what it really takes on YouTube. It always just takes that one video that breaks you out, and then you're up there. So.
And I sincerely hope, if no matter what else happens, that we're going to have more dialogues with more attorneys. I hope we're going to continue this and just continue expanding, because it's been so much fun. Start this new academy and just talking amongst each other. Tomorrow's conversation dealing with this personal jurisdiction stuff is going to be fun. So we really law nerd out. I'll see how much the law nerds really want to get into the depths of it.
But you know what though? One thing I think we definitely have to understand though is from where we came from to where we are, because I'm very thankful to just getting to this point.
Yeah, I think I was at 4,000, something
Which
like
one?
that. Well, my subscriber count.
Oh,
like a year ago today, I think it was at like 1,000.
January 1st, 2020. Because I've been doing my analytics, my subscriber count was 2,300 subscribers. Wow. 2,300 subscribers January 1st last year, and I'm at 48. That is tremendous growth. That is something that I just did not, I was told it's going to take 5 years to get 10,000 subs. So I am extremely happy. And I remember when you made it up to, I'm like, damn, we're both growing at the same.
Yeah, we were tied for a little while there. Yeah, then you surpassed me.
But it was that one video, and then the great part about it is that one video led to like another video getting 100,000 views, another video getting 100. So that's the way it rolls. But I think the one great thing is that the people, I think the one great thing about what we do is that we try to be honest with the law, and when you're honest with the law, I think people gravitate to that. And I think Viva's like that. I think you're like that. I think R&R, and I think Rick Yetta. We may be wrong, but we'll tell you what we don't know, and we'll be honest with you for it. I think you got a super chat.
So on December the 30th of 2019, I was 2,830 subscribers. 2,800 a year ago tomorrow. 2,800. And now I'm at 19,300. So I've gained plus, what is that? 17,000 in a year. It's not bad.
And think about that. YouTube says it takes 5 years to go from 0 to 10.
Yeah,
and you've done it, and you've done double that within a year. So this is a success.
We're making progress, and I'm eminently grateful. And I don't always show it as much as I could, and sometimes I get frustrated at my chat, or sometimes frustrated people, and I need to learn to do it better. But I think I'm capable of growing, and I'm, I never want to be ungrateful. So to all the people who have subscribed and all the people who have made this possible. And at least I'm dreaming of the day when I can do this full time. I'm not there yet, but it's like, at least I'm thinking about the day that could be possible, where I'd have enough revenue to do this full time. Like, that's awesome, man. That's great.
Well, listen, I'll tell you this, because right now, I don't know, like I'm pumping out content because I'm able to do it now, but it's hard. It's hard when you got a 9 to 5. My personal law practice, I had that big case that paid out. So that was good. And it was able to put me in a position where I could do this on a full-time basis and not have to worry about, getting funds for a while. So, and this, so hopefully, it'll work out. But it's, the scariest thing about this online stuff and YouTube stuff is that it's so futile. You can lose it at any time. So the fact that we're able to do this, and we're able to do this with people who we like, I don't really like Kurt. Let me stop joking. I like this guy, and I like Viva, and it's fun when you can go to a job. It's funny. They say when you get paid to do what you love, you're not really working. And I never really consider this to be work, right? I just don't. It's fun. It's fun to share my knowledge and to learn things from the people who are out there. I learn so much from not only super chats, but from comment sections and all that stuff. People who teach me stuff, and that's what it's such a fascinating journey, this YouTube stuff. So.
This is a good question for you, Nate. Have you ever read the Chick Track Dark Dungeons? First of all, do you know what a Chick Track is?
I've never read it. But Merry Christmas to you too, and Happy New Year. Yeah, Nate, what type of law do you practice? I do criminal law, and I did my last case was a civil case. So I've been doing civil cases for the past year. But usually I do criminal law. So and the article is going to be about my clients about a criminal case too. So
yeah, very good. Yeah, one of the aliases I go by on the internet is Blackleaf, and that's a very inside joke to that Chick Track. So if you knew about the lore behind my alternate nickname of Blackleaf.
Now I got some Googling to do tonight right after.
Yeah, that's a deep one there. I used that name on the internet since high school, so that's some deep lore there. But we're going to talk for now because I've got to go to another social event. And my friend Nate has to sign off. So I'll just simply say, if you've not already, please visit my friend Nate the Lawyer. Subscribe to his channel. His name should be hyper tagged in the video title, because you can go to and do that. So you should be able to just click on this name in the title of the video and go right to his channel That's a plus. So be able to go check him out, subscribe to him. He does good legal content as well. If you haven't already subscribed to me, please subscribe. I will really appreciate it. And I promise to be the best uncivil law I know how to be. But until later, my friends, I hope you're well. Peace. Happy New Year and goodbye.
Peace.